Welcome back, climbers. I'm your co-host, Kaleigh Floyd, and this is another episode of Climbing Mount CMMC. Today, I am joined by Brian Hubbard to talk about the MSP Cybersecurity Exchange. Brian is also the president of Evolved Cyber Solutions and the founder of MSP CyberX. Brian is also a Certified CMMC Assessor and Certified Information Security Manager. With over 40 years of cybersecurity knowledge, Brian is excited to share his new mission and vision for MSP CyberX. So, without further ado, let's get into this episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Climbing Mount CMMC. Today, I am joined with Brian Hubbard, and we are going to be talking about the new MSP Cybersecurity Exchange, also known as MSP CyberX. And so I am so excited for you guys to dive into what this is, his mission, his vision behind it, without further ado, I think let's just talk about, Brian, if you want to share with them, what is MSP CyberX?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having me on. And MSP CyberX is a community really that is forming between MSPs and cybersecurity professionals, bringing folks together. Bringing most in particular, we're bringing together cybersecurity compliance professionals with the MSPs to help work through not only what are the challenges for MSPs around all the various compliance things that are coming down the pike at them, but also to help their clients, because all their clients are getting hit with any number of compliance things, CMMC obviously being one of them, FTC safeguards rule, HIPAA has always been there, and a number of other things, SEC rules, DHS rules. There's all kinds of rules coming down at the pike at small to medium-sized businesses. And what we want to do is be able to help as many of those small businesses as possible. And the best way to do that in my long-winded career has been to work with companies that work with lots of those different companies. So working with MSPs will help to magnify the impact and help to get to as many small businesses as possible to help them shore up their cybersecurity and ultimately the security of the nation and the supply chain for the nation. So
that's awesome. I love it. I love your guys' mission and your vision behind what you're trying to do. Also because, we're walking through a lot of that journey right now as well ourselves. Yeah. And so we really relate to it as a company. And so, when they go to sign up, what is there to expect? What's inside? What are the benefits when you sign up for something like this?
Yeah. So kind of expand on a little bit on what we're trying to do. So there's kind of that information sharing concept, right? So having one place to go to get all the information you need about all these different compliance regimens and how to approach them and that sort of thing. So that we're trying to do that. We're providing that via our website, and we start out with our informed members. At the sort of the lowest tier of our membership, our informed members can get access to all of that information that we're collecting. We're curating that information from across the internet, i.e. we're giving you pointers to the right places. So it's all in one place. So that information sharing is huge, right? But that's not enough, right? It's not enough to just give people a big dump of information and expect them to weed out the important bits, right? So what we're trying to do is create a platform to allow for knowledge building, right? So we're sharing that information, but we're also going to be working together through a collaborative environment, a Slack channel, basically, it's a Slack environment. We consider it a community. So we've kind of structured their overall MSP CyberX as a community, and I've kind of structured it around a small town kind of scenario where we have various corners. We have the barbershop where you can go in and talk about anything you want to talk about. We have the library where all the books reside. We have, the town hall where all the announcements will come from and that sort of thing. And then we have corners. We have the different corners to go out and stand on those corners and talk about the different things. The CMMC corner is going to be a real hot one, and we have PCI corner, we have a HIPAA corner, we have all kinds of different corners to go talk about things. We have the general store to go talk about different products that you might be trying to use and that sort of thing. We're not going to do sales pitches. We're going to avoid kind of being a salesy kind of platform. It's really to talk about what are the best practices and things that you use. So from a membership perspective, so we have our informed members, which I talked about, and that's they come in and avail themselves of all the content that we're bringing together. And then we have participating members, and participating members are those that can participate in the Slack community, and we'll have monthly calls and things like that to get people together. The Slack community is important because it's really where the cybersecurity community and the MSP community are going to come together. Not only the MSPs can share information amongst themselves, which is kind of great because they'll be able to share best practices and things that they do, but also then to bring in that cybersecurity compliance perspective and make sure that what we're talking about is actually going to meet some of these requirements. And we're going to bring in experts from all the different aspects of compliance, all the different compliance regimens. And then our premier membership is called active members, and active members participate in all of that. But then we're also providing an hour a quarter consulting services from one of the cybersecurity SMEs, and that's included in the membership, just to come out and work on your one-on-one, work with you on your issues, and try to get you pointed in the right direction. And then also quarterly workshops. So we have a really important kind of the workshop concept. We have a workshop on the Slack channel. We have that's one of our buildings that we have. Where we're working on a problem right now. We're working on shared responsibility matrices and things like that. So that's one of the topics that we're working on right now.
That's awesome.
But then we'll have live workshops, like either live or virtual, in person or not, and then you kind of work through real problems. And those are all driven by the steering committee, and the steering committee is made up of MSPs. So we didn't want this thing being, I'm a cybersecurity geek, right? So that's what I am. That's where I live. So it's important that it not be from my perspective. It's important that this whole thing be driven from the MSP perspective. And so that's why we have a steering committee that's made up totally of MSPs. And Bobby's one of those. So he's on the steering committee, which is great. So we're looking forward to having it be really impactful for the MSPs because of that. So that's kind of our three memberships: informed, participating, and active. The informed membership is a free membership because I'm just bringing together information and providing it out there. Participating and active come with a fee to cover the costs of doing that.
Right. And all of this is on your guys' website, right? MSPCyberX.com. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. MSPCyberX.com is our website. And we had our initiative actually recognized by the White House.
Wow.
We actually,
that's awesome.
So we're working with one of the community colleges here locally to where I am around Baltimore. And they were having an event with the National Cybersecurity Director. So they, and I've been working with them for a while. So they reached out and said, "Hey, do you have any initiatives that you want to talk about with respect to workforce development, cyber workforce development?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I do. I have this MSP Cybersecurity Exchange that we're getting ready to launch." And so I got talking to them about that, and they were like, "That's great. We would like you to write that up for us." So we wrote it up. It was actually announced by the National Cyber Director, and was then listed on is now listed actually on the White House's website for
Wow,
the
that's huge. That's awesome.
workforce initiative. So it's important. And the nice thing about that is it's really the only initiative that's listed under that workforce development that is focused on MSPs. MSPs being a critical resource for the nation. And I think it's a great recognition that that's important, and they really need to, that part of the workforce is going to be key to everything we do going forward.
So, Brian, I was really curious while you were talking about what exactly the pain point was that gave you the inspiration to start this. What was it that you were feeling was missing? There was like an emptiness, maybe something that you felt personally that inspired you to kind of start this initiative.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I would say, a couple of years ago, it started really, well, maybe it was more than a couple, but when we started it down the CMMC path, we realized that, hey, small businesses are really struggling with these requirements, and seeing then that most small businesses, 70 to 80% of small businesses use in some form a managed service provider, and so wanting to reach those small businesses and help them do that. The small businesses themselves, in many cases, they don't have any IT people, right? They're relying on their MSP, and if the MSP isn't armed with the right kind of information and it isn't prepared to help those companies are going to flounder, and they're going to have issues, and ultimately lose business and have challenges in getting contracts and things like that. So we wanted to work with those, and the other kind of key thing was, so I'm as you said in the announcement, I've been doing this for a lot of years. So I'm hopefully going to retire sometime in my lifetime, maybe 5 to 6 years from now. And in 2023, I was able to work with about 20 companies, right? So I just was multiplying that out, and I said, well, not all those were small, but if I can only work with for another 5 or 6 years, and that means I can only really reach about 120 companies, that's not enough, right? I wanted to have a bigger impact. So that was the other aspect of it. I wanted to magnify what I can do, and bring a community together that will impact thousands and thousands of small businesses to try to help bring up the level of cybersecurity in the country. So that's really what was driving it. That was why I'm spending all my waking hours on it. But then the other motivation is that, hey, people need to be aware of compliance. They need to be getting ready for compliance and being able to do it. And the other piece of it, I am very anti-compliance for compliance sake. So when you develop I always say, a good compliance should be an outcome of a good cybersecurity program. So building this good cybersecurity program helps your business. It helps you do what you need to do. And by the way, you're going to comply with all these regulations coming out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I wanted to make sure that our community builds that culture. Of, hey, let's focus on building good cybersecurity, and then let's not forget about all this compliance stuff that goes along with it.
Right. Another word that really stands out as you're talking about this is just transparency, which we are so big on, and we advocate for it with I feel like every episode we mention the word transparency. But it's so important to be able to be educated, to make educated decisions based on what you hear. And your Slack channels, the information that you gather, all of those things are giving this transparent view for MSPs. So they can really see what's happening, be educated on what's going on, so that they can make better decisions for their clients so that their clients have a better outcome, right? And so that was just another thing that I just kept seeing throughout all your discussions about MSP CyberX is just like the transparency of it is so key as well.
It is in a non-competitive community, right? I mean, it's everybody, right. That's why we wanted to have a community feel, was because a community works together, right? And the community brings up everybody at the same time. So, the whole it takes a village concept, but so we feel like, take the competitive edge off and get into these discussions where everybody is sharing, everybody is benefiting from the knowledge being shared simultaneously, essentially, and that's why we don't want sales pitches. We don't want, and everybody coming in should just kind of take off their competitive hat and let's focus on helping everybody succeed, because there are so many. If all the MSPs that join this community succeed and help all these thousands of companies, well, there's hundreds of thousands of other companies that still need help, right? Mm-hmm. So nobody's going to lose business. Everybody's going to gain business from this. It's going to be a way to help MSPs recognize more revenue, because at the end of the day, everybody needs to make a living and grow their business, and everybody wants to grow their business. So this is a way to do that, but to do that in a way that is kind of I don't want to say standard, but it's kind of a common sense of what needs to be done.
Yeah, laying that foundation of community.
That foundation is a great word. Thank you for that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah.
No, I love this, and this is also, I think I'm so passionate about what you're doing and how you're doing it, because that's also what we're trying to do with this podcast, is just help people on the journey of CMMC and being transparent and being vulnerable about what we're doing, and maybe even the mistakes that we make, not just the things that we did right, but the things that we did wrong,
Absolutely.
Because you can benefit from both. And so it's, it's not about being competitive always, but, being able to work together so that you guys can succeed together, and there is a world for that. And I love that you're showing that there is one for that.
It's awesome. It definitely is. Yeah.
So I'm curious, you kind of mentioned this just a little bit, but the last thing that I wanted to ask you is there something that you guys are just, you're starting off now, it's open for business. You can sign up today, right? But is there something right now that you're noticing that as a community, you guys are really tackling right now and focusing on? Is there something that's more in the forefront of your vision that you see happening right now?
Yeah, and that one of the reasons we picked the project that we're currently working in the workshop around the shared responsibility matrix concept is that we feel strongly that MSPs need to be able to express what their service offerings are doing for their clients, right? So how is their service offering helping them comply, but also what is it that the MSP is going to do versus what is it the customer needs to do, right? Because the MSP can only do so much, right? So for example, when it comes to access control, right, and MSP may be managing all the access to a client's information and that sort of thing. That's great. They can't just make up users, right? The customer has to actually vet the users and say, here's the user and here's the stuff that they should have access to. And then the MSP implements that, right? So there's responsibilities at every step of the way. And in going through that process with respect to, we're going to start out with CMMC and NIST 800-171 kind of controls, but we're going to expand this concept from there. Is to go through each of those and say, okay, what is it your service offering is doing, and how would that customer express that to an auditor that came in or an assessor that came in, and then what are those responsibilities that you have? What are them that your customer has? that does a lot of things, right? So it helps with the compliance arguments, obviously, but it also helps with the service level agreements, the things that the customer, the expectations, setting the expectations for the customers, so that the MSPs aren't caught in this scenario that their customers are mad at them because something happened when the MSP had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
They didn't ask you to do that. They were doing that. That kind of thing. So we want to make sure that's one of the workshop issues and why we're working on that right off the bat.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. And us, as MSP, we're doing that right now as well, which I'm sure Bobby's in that workshop living it up, because we're implementing that in our business too. And it is so critical, and you don't realize sometimes how critical that kind of stuff is until something negative happens, right? And it might fall back on you when it shouldn't have necessarily. So having that standard SLAs, those kind of things, those are definitely crucial for you to have. Before we close today, I want to make sure that everybody knows that, again, you can find all of this information and more on the website, which I've also linked in the description. So MSPCyberX.com, right, Brian? That's right.
That's correct. They can also, if anybody wants to have information or wants to have a discussion about it, send an email to support@MSPCyberX.com, and we'll reach back out and get you the information that you need.
Awesome. I love it. Brian, thank you so much for hopping on here and sharing your mission, your vision, and why you started this initiative. We are so excited to be a part of it with you and continue watching you guys grow and help many, many businesses out there. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing what you have to offer.
Thank you, Kaleigh. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. And thank you guys for listening or watching. If you're watching on YouTube, we hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on climbing.
Make sure to follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube to stay up to date on the latest CMMC news. We hope you guys enjoyed today's episode and listen out for the next one. But until then, keep on climbing.